Ms. Mike, we've got a couple here, if anybody wants to sit right next to them from the family.
Even if we're not going to make a statement?
Yeah, I'd like to sit down by all means, just to be supportive of your mom. Okay, we're ready, everybody? Okay, my name is Mike O'Connell. I'm a spokesman for the Missouri Department of Corrections. We're going to do a little thing with the family where they're going to tell you about what they've been through. But first, we're going to have a brief statement from Governor Nixon that Director George Lombardi from the Department of Corrections is going to read. Director.
Thank you, Mike. And this is a statement from Governor Nixon. 19 years ago, a promising young life was ended senselessly with the murder of Mindy Griffin in St. Charles County. With the execution tonight, the criminal case of Michael Worthington, convicted of her murder and rape, comes to a just conclusion. There was no question about the brutality of this crime or doubt about Worthington's guilt. The overwhelming evidence against him led Worthington to plead guilty and led the court to appropriately impose the most severe punishment under the law. I ask that Missourians remember Mindy Griffin at this time and join us in keeping her loved ones in their thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. If anybody who's got any recording device can move this over here now. And I'm just going to introduce who we've got here. You probably know this is Jack and Carol Angelback, Mindy's parents. They have prepared statements. Mrs. Angelback will also try to take some questions from the media. And then with us here are Mindy's sister, Deborah Selecki, and her husband James, Mindy's brothers, John Angelback III and Jerry Angelback. Also here are Lake St. Louis Police Chief Mike Force, who of course was involved with the investigation, retired Lake St. Louis Detective Don Bolin, former St. Charles County Prosecutor Tim Braun, and also former Assistant Prosecutor Ross Bueller. Mindy's parents asked that they be here because they've been in close contact throughout the last 20 years. So go ahead now. Jack, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. I'm Jack Angelback, Mindy's father. We watched the quiet and peaceful death of Worthington, who murdered our Mindy. His peaceful death was a stark contrast to the violent and painful death that Mindy suffered at his hands. There was never any question of his guilt from the first day at the Lake St. Louis Police Department, when he said he must have murdered Mindy because his hands hurt. When he said he must have murdered Mindy because his hands hurt, 3 years later, under oath in St. Charles courtroom, he told the court that he strangled Mindy until she was unconscious. Then he raped her. During the rape, Mindy regained consciousness. He told the court he had no choice but to strangle Mindy until she died. It's been 18 long and painful years for our family and friends. We have reached justice. These 18 years were the longest roller coaster ride. Many ups, many downs, but it's now time to get off the roller coaster and go on with the rest of our lives. We will always have Mindy in our hearts and thoughts. Remember the joy she gave to everyone who was part of her short life.
I'm Mindy Griffin's mother, Carol Angelback. We are relieved that this portion of our daughter's murder is over, and we won't have to think of Worthington again. We can just remember our Mindy's life. His brutal act cut out the heart of our family, sending Mindy to an early grave and depriving us, her siblings, and their children of a loving presence that would have enriched their lives. We will always cherish the memory of our Mindy's life, which was taken too soon by his senseless act. And I would like to take this time to thank Chief Mike Force and Detective Don Bolin, who stayed with us and helped us up when we couldn't stand, listened to our cry and prayed with us for God to give us the strength to make this journey. We then met prosecuting attorneys Tim Braun and Ross Bueller, and victims advocate Maggie Menifee, who again listened to our cry for help as we asked them many times how we were supposed to learn to live the rest of our lives. Without her Mindy.
Our journey then led us to Jefferson City, and there we met victims advocate Brenda Porter, who took over when Maggie had to leave us. She carried us through the rest of our journey through St. Charles Victims Advocate Joan Koenig was with us through the many appeals. Becca Hooper, Victims Advocate from the Attorney General's office, was through us the final days to help us see the light at the end of the tunnel. Kay Crockett, who was there for us for the last 15 years and helped guide us through the legal process and calm my fears when I couldn't take another breath. All these wonderful, caring people were our lifeline to live, and we will always be thankful to them for showing us a way to live again and cherish the time we had with our Mindy. Many of these people were here today to help us through the end of this journey. I would like to send a special thank you to Kimberly Evans, who has listened to my fears and helped me, give me the strength to see this through to the end. I would also like to thank Stephen Hawk and all the attorneys in the AG office for all their hard work to see that justice was done for our Mindy. In Mr. Worthington's statement, he asked God to forgive those who call this justice. I believe he made a mistake, as he should have asked God to forgive him for the rape and strangling my daughter not once but twice. His execution has nothing to do with politics. As he stated, it is because of the decisions he made to take an innocent girl's life. Thank you.
And Carol is willing to take